I want to read you a story, though, before you go to bed, okay?
Right now?
Yeah, right now. It's going to be a story.
Is it going to be a pretend go to bed right now?
Yeah, pretend go to bed right now.
Oh.
Okay. All right, buddy. This is a story about Moses when he led his people out of Egypt. As Pharaoh drew near, the Israelites looked back, and there, where the Egyptians were advancing on them, in great fear the Israelites cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses,
Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you've brought us out into this wilderness?
What have you done to us, bringing us out of Egypt? Is this not the very thing you told us in Egypt? Leave us alone, let us be and serve the Egyptians.
It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to be alone and die in this wilderness.
But Moses said to the people, Do not be afraid, stand firm, and see the deliverance that the Lord will accomplish for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall never see again. The Lord will fight for you, and all you have to do is keep still. Then the Lord said to Moses, Why do you crawl out to me? Tell the Israelites to go forward. You lift up your staff and stretch out over the sea and divide it, that the Israelites may go into the sea on dry ground. Then I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians so that they will go in after them. So I will gain glory for myself over Pharaoh and all his army, his chariot and his chariot drivers. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I have gained glory for myself over Pharaoh, his chariots and his chariot drivers. The angel of God was going before Israel, light army, and moved and went behind them. And the pillar of cloud moved up in front of them and took its place behind them. It came between the army of Egypt and the army of Israel. And so the cloud was there in the darkness, and it lifted up the night. One did not come near the other all night. Then Moses stretched his hand out over the sea, and the Lord drove the sea back by the strong east wind all night, and turned the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided. The Israelites went into the sea on dry ground, and water forming a wall for them on their right and on their left. The Egyptians pursued and went into the sea after them, and all of Pharaoh's horses, chariots, and chariot drivers. At the morning watch, the Lord, in the pillar of the cloud of fire, looked down upon the Egyptian army and threw the Egyptian army into a panic. He clogged their chariot wheels so that they turned with difficulty. The Egyptians said, Let us flee from the Israelites. The Lord is fighting for them against Egypt. Then the Lord said to Moses, Stretch your hand over the sea so that the waters may come back upon the Egyptians and upon their chariot and chariot drivers. So Moses stretched out his hand over the sea. At dawn, the sea returned to its normal depth. Oh no. The Egyptians fled before it, and the Lord tossed the Egyptians into the sea. The waters returned and covered the chariot and the chariot drivers. The entire army of Pharaoh that had followed them into the sea, not one of them remained. But the Israelites walked on dry ground through the sea, the waters forming a wall for them on the right and on their left. Thus the Lord saved Israel that day from the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. Israel saw the great work of the Lord against the Egyptians. So the people feared the Lord and believed in the Lord and in his servant Moses. Then the prophet Miriam, who was Aaron's sister, took a tambourine in her hand, and all the women went out after her with tambourines and with dancing. Yeah. And Miriam sang a song to them. Sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. Horse and rider he has thrown into the sea. What do you think of that story, buddy?
That was good.